right, everybody, and welcome to our very first episode of our podcast. My name is Colt Jester, and with me I have Broken Thief Zidane. I go by Colton, but
I go by Daniel, or Dan. It doesn't really matter.
yeah. So this podcast currently does not have a name. It's a work in progress. We've tried this before. It didn't go as well as we wanted to. Things kind of fell flat. So this is us revamping, rebranding, and trying to find a new way to do this that we both think is going to be a lot more successful. So
fresh start.
We're
gonna kick it off fresh, see what comes out of it.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited to do this. Our podcast is going to be primarily a video game podcast, and what that means is video game news, what we're playing, everything that can kind of fall under that sun. Anything?
Yeah, I think just about anything video game related, really.
Yeah, so we've been friends for a very long time. Way back in the freshman year of high school. We're now in our 30s, so we know each other pretty well.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'll give it a while. At least 12 years, 13 years, 14 years,
16, 15 years, something like that.
We could just keep counting up. It doesn't matter.
So this first episode is going to be kind of an intro to who we are, what we want to bring to you guys as far as this. We're also going to cover. This is being recorded the weekend after GDC, so we're going to cover, what our biggest takeaways from what we actually paid attention to on GDC. Obviously, we're not developers, so we didn't pay attention to the entire thing.
Yeah, we didn't quite cover all of it, but there were definitely some exciting times during the GDC event, so some definite things that we want to talk about there. Things we're looking forward to and things we're a little hesitant on. Well, at least some of us.
Some of us as in, that guy over there. And I'm going to set the cameras up that way, that I'm pointing right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, sure.
So
I'm over there.
The big thing is, we're going to have the side-by-side view that you guys are going to be seeing is because I live in Indiana and Daniel lives in New York. So we are not able to record this together or anything like that. And we're choosing to use YouTube as a platform rather than podcasting services, at least just for now. That might come down the road for the people that want audio only. But this is going to be primarily a video podcast. So,
I mean, maybe we could start meeting up once a week, if you wanted.
Once a week.
Come out here.
Once a week sounds a little much. I travel a lot for work, so I don't know how.
The only thing stopping you is you.
Yeah.
I mean...
So with that being said, my primary place of playing video games is PlayStation as of now. I'm kind of slowly converting over to PC, but I also have a Nintendo Switch. So that's primarily where at least my, gaming history is. I mean, well, current history, I guess you should say. I started playing games on NES. So NES, Super NES, 64, PlayStation 1, GameCube.
Everything.
PlayStation, yeah, so on and so forth.
Yeah, so, everything.
But, we're not going to shy away from Xbox. If there's something interesting that they're doing that we want to talk about, which we'll talk about one thing at least here about what they're doing right now. But, Xbox is not out of the game, but I was talking about we don't want to exclude them from the fun.
I'm not gonna lie, I have thought about an Xbox several times. I even used to own one back in the 360 days. I kind of, even though I'm a PlayStation fanboy, I sold out a little bit and went down the Xbox route.
Well, I mean, that being said, I owned a 360 primarily because the PS3 when it came out was just stupidly expensive, and Xbox had a lower barrier of entry, so I wanted to play the next gen games, and so I had a 360. But
I mean, the PlayStation 3 kind of screwed up their whole service base, though,
Yeah.
compared to the Xbox. The Xbox 360 had the better service base. And that's the way it went.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then the PlayStation 4 blew it out of the water.
yeah, once the PS3 came down in price, I traded my Xbox in and I got a PS3. But I did have an
Yep.
Xbox One for a few months, and then I traded that in to get a Nintendo Switch when that came out. So
Good
you know,
choice.
I'm not, like I said, we're not against it. So but we'll see. It might not get the love and attention that it probably properly deserves, but
Well, that's not to say that we won't be, I'm primarily a PlayStation person, as well as I do have a Switch. Colton and I do experiment different things on the Switch. We play a lot of PlayStation together, and I am currently building a desktop. But the way the Microsoft Store is set up and the Xbox Game Pass, there's nothing to say that we won't be trying out the Xbox games on our computers and at least giving reviews on what we think about those. So
yeah, and that is something that I think that we do want to cover every once in a while. Is if a new game comes out, cover a review of it. I know I just picked up the Division 2, and Daniel's been playing it already for a little bit. I wouldn't mind down the line, giving you guys our thoughts. We won't be doing scoring systems.
No. No.
Yeah. But we'll give you our thoughts, our impressions, and whether or not we think it's worth picking up. So
yeah, if nothing else, we'll definitely give you what our opinions are, what kind of background on gaming we like, and is it something we recommend that you should give a shot? Is it worth the $60, $50, $40 that it comes out at? And is it worth your time to invest into it?
Right. I mean, like I said, I just picked up the Division 2. I'm actually installing it on my computer. I'm sitting at about 72% on that. I'm installing it as we record, because after we finish this, I'm kind of hoping it's done and I get to load it up.
Lucky. So yeah, I'll just go back to playing it on my PlayStation until I finish putting together my computer, so I can actually play with you.
Yeah. So with that being said, do you want to? So I mean, let's talk about where we're currently playing, and then we'll get into the news. So I'll let you start off with what you're currently playing, because obviously you have gotten to play the Division a little bit more than I have. So I got to play it a little bit, so I will chime in here and there, but I'll let you start off.
I will say, what I'm currently playing, it's kind of a toss-up, and people may hate me for it, but I am still going back and forth between Anthem and the Division. Don't wipe that smug off your face. I picked up Anthem, fully anticipating it to be an amazing game. It does have its flaws. It has some issues they have to work out. I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely got some bugs. When it turned my PlayStation off, that was a major issue for me. It is one of those games that I was fully looking at setting down until probably about a month or two from now, and then picking back up. But unfortunately, I have friends who do not own the Division, but they own Anthem. So I'm kind of caught in that cross loop of, well, I'll play with you, and I'll play the Division on my side. So unfortunately, I'm not as far in the Division as I want to be.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I gave the thumbs down primarily because I had a very tainted experience. Not even getting a chance to play it. So the beta came out, or the VIP demo, whatever you want to call it.
That should have been a beta. Yeah. That was not a VIP demo.
So when I tried to load into it, it was tied to your Origin account. My PlayStation ID was tagged to a different Origin account. Long story short, I couldn't get in. I couldn't play. So because I didn't even pre-order it, I was using a friend code. And because of what I went through, it put a really, really sour taste in my mouth, and I refused to give them the money. I refused to give them the attention. And then once the game came out, and I got to hear all the negativity of the things that they were messing up on, it put a smile on my face. So
a sour taste in your mouth and some negativity is not what I heard on the microphone that night. So that's very underplayed. However,
it is. I was, like I said, I spent 4.5 hours trying to get into that VIP demo, getting on the phone with multiple hotlines trying to get it fixed. And yeah, I was sour.
A little bit. But I have been playing the Anthem. I am, did I hit level 30? I'm level 29 or level 30 in that. I am starting to touch the in-game content. I did pick up the Division. I'm loving every second of it. It is by far, not saying much considering we're only, in March, the best games as a service to come out this year, in my opinion. I'm enjoying the gunplay in it. I'm enjoying the loot drop. I think they did a fantastic job of listening to their audience from the Division 1 and carrying that over into the Division 2 and setting the game up to where they kind of hit on a lot of those strong points from the first one, but built off of it. And, I'm having a good time with it.
So with the Division, my brother-in-law owns it. I was out at my in-laws this weekend, and I got to play it a little bit, on his PlayStation while he was working. And then I also sat down and watched him play it. And the takeaways that I took from it were the gunplay feels a lot better than Division 1. The way that they changed how shielded enemies feel is a lot better because the yellow barred enemies with shields, once you physically will see something fall off of them or wherever it may be, and once that happens, they drop almost immediately. Like the amount of damage you do, it makes it feel more satisfying to take down one of those yellow bars.
They fixed the sponginess. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so I was gonna say that. I just was trying to avoid that because
I know.
I mean, a lot of these games of service shooters are bullet sponge type of things. But the other thing that I had a conversation with my brother-in-law was he says the game feels quiet, and he was saying, and I was like, what do you mean by that? And he goes, the world seems somewhat empty, and I was like, you know what? The more I looked at it, I was like, I don't think that feels that it's more empty. The thing is, I think Division 1 was just overly cluttered, and they took the time to clean up the map and actually make things more worth doing rather than just like, here's this long laundry list of all these things that you have to try and collect, do, and all these things, and they simplified it and made it a little bit more streamlined. And that's one of the things that I was kind of happy for because I helped my actual brother platinum it, and that took a while.
The world should kind of be a little empty. It is a post-apocalyptic world, so it's kind of meant to be that way. At least they didn't go down the Fallout 76 route where
there's nothing
completely
to do.
Empty. And
I will say I have heard that game is getting some patches and some updates, and that game might make a resurgence.
I do have it, and buddy of mine and Colton's, we have played it quite a bit. We put several hours into it, but it was a very empty world. But now I have heard that there are several things coming to it that they're looking to upgrade, they're looking to add things to do. So I'm hoping to get back into that in the next, I don't know, month or two, or whenever I actually have time to start something new.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So besides Anthem and Division, anything else that you've been playing? So,
true to my name, I have been going back through on a playthrough on Final Fantasy IX on the Switch. I've been sinking quite a bit of time into that in my travels, which is great for a Switch platform. And working my way through that classic game because I love the majority of the Final Fantasies with the exception of a couple, that we won't talk about. But yeah. Yeah. We don't talk about 10-2. But no, I've been putting some time into that. I've been enjoying it thoroughly. I've been trying my hardest not to kick on those the speed run and the power boost and all that stuff. So
I'm not gonna lie,
I've been trying to go through.
I've turned those on a few times. I'm like, I just want to get through this section. I just want to get through this, but yeah, I don't blame you.
I don't know if I can hold out once I hit that the desert castle area where you go under the desert and all that shit. I don't know if I can. It might come on at that point.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that at all. Anything else that's got your attention?
No, a couple pre-orders coming out soon that I'm looking forward to, but I'll talk about those another day. So, what do you got?
So I've been a little light on my playing. I've been traveling a lot, and I actually haven't been bringing much. Like I haven't even been bringing my Switch. I've had just a lot of busy time. So, but
Right.
the little bit of stuff that I've been playing, I actually picked up Overwatch again recently and got back into playing that a little bit.
Okay.
I got some video projects that I do that the guy that I do those projects with, we were playing that the other night. I actually picked up Bloodborne and have tried to give that a shot.
Tried?
Well, I haven't had a lot of time to do it. The thing that I'm having trouble with right now is I have no idea where I'm supposed to go. I'm not a Dark Souls fan. I'm not a From Software fan. So this is I
Okay.
listen to a ton of other podcasts, and one of the ones I was listening to, they have been talking it up. I was like, let me give it a shot. I have it, but not to
With
say
that being said, like taking not to interrupt, but taking away from because I am a From Software fan. Get away from the fact that you don't know where you're going. Do you like the game? Do you like the play style? The challenge?
surprisingly, yeah. Like I don't,
Okay.
I'm not to the point where I'm getting mad when I die. I understand what I'm
Yet.
doing wrong when I die. But it feels fluid. It's a solid game. I'm interested to keep playing and try and figure out where to go. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a matter of sitting down and putting the time in at this point. Outside of that, I have a back catalog right now that I just haven't had a chance to get to. But outside of that, I really haven't been playing much. I've been a little light on my video game play right now. I've been trying to get into doing a little bit more YouTube content, so I've been playing some old Pokemon games on stream, and I have a video series on a Pokemon thing, and so like that's been kind of the extent of play. But
What
since
are
I
you
was
What are you doing with that?
um so the both of the series are Nuzlocks. They're just a harder way to play the games. You can only catch so many Pokemon or one Pokemon per route. If they die, they're gone. Things like that. And then, different play styles within that with the one video project I'm doing with a buddy of mine. And then the solo one, it's just to kind of have a fun stream, just to chill, hang out, and have people come in and just chit chat while I'm just doing something. So
Right. That
I like
sounds
it.
cool.
It's fun. It's a different way to play those games that makes it. And also on top of all that, I have them randomized, so it's not like you're just basic playing these games. It makes them a little bit more challenging. It makes them more fun, more engaging to go through that entire process.
What do you mean by randomized? What is that?
So you randomize the ROM, and it's all your starters are different. Every Pokemon that you catch and the routes are different. You can
Okay.
literally run into legendary Pokemon in the wild,
All
and
right.
have a chance to catch those. And then like I said, and then not to mention you're also not when those ROMs are randomized, you're not stuck to. So say if you're playing a Gen 1 game, you'll actually have access to Gens 1 through 4
Oh,
within
okay.
those.
So you
Yeah.
have a variety then,
Yeah.
not
So,
just like what's exclusive to that gen.
correct. So,
Cool.
yeah, that's basically been my playthrough. So with that, I want to go into, especially since I was talking about Bloodborne, I want to lead into games that are coming out that we're excited about. So I'm gonna start with asking Daniel, when are you getting Sekiro?
So, yeah, I believe it or not, I was in Best Buy yesterday. I had Sekiro in my hand, and I put it back down. And I know that is awful for someone who is a From Software fan, and I've heard such great things about it. However, I did just drop a bunch of money trying to build a desktop, and I am looking at a couple other games that I have coming out within the next month. So unfortunately, Sekiro is gonna kind of take a back burner, and I plan on getting it hopefully within the next month. but it's going to be hard with Days Gone.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that
And
you were excited about that game.
I am very excited about that game. Everything I have heard, interviews that I've listened to, and some of the information that's come out on it, I am really looking forward to that game. And it's not one that I expected to be.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to be either. For me, Days Gone, I've heard good things about it, but nothing that sells me on it. I'm not like as far as zombie games go, the game that that's still been kind of silent that I've been kind of waiting to hear more on is Dying Light 2.
Yes.
That's
well,
the game I'm looking
obviously
forward to.
When that game comes out, I will be all over it.
Yeah.
But the Days Gone, the more and more I heard about it on various podcasts and, like I said, interviews, the more I'm like, yeah, this is something I could sink some hours into, and probably have a good time with. Unfortunately, I have a very large backlog of games that I really need to focus on as well. So, and I am looking at a game that not very many people know probably about, but Outward.
I know about Outward.
Yeah.
I only know about Outward from you.
Right.
You've been trying to talk me up and talk me into looking into getting it. I have not researched it yet, but I know of it.
It's one of those games that like you're either gonna be into it or you're not, from my opinion. Survival kind of inventory management, but however, it's not. It's kind of like a Souls game almost, as far as the difficulty goes. From what I've seen on it, you have to actually manage your character. You have to, camp. You got to eat food. In order to learn magic, you got to like go on a pilgrim to the top of a mountain. Mana isn't something that you can just take. You have to actually give up like stamina or health in order to cast magic. Things like that, and the death penalty in it is pretty severe from my understanding.
Yeah.
However, it looks pretty entertaining and something that I could have some fun with.
Yeah, that definitely doesn't sound like a game for me.
No, I didn't think you'd really be into it. So, honestly, the game that I'm waiting for and the one I'm most anticipating and that I just want to hear something about, and hopefully in the next 4 to 6 days I will. Borderlands 3.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. So PAX is
Excited.
right. So we just had GDC this past week, and then right around the corner is PAX East, and all the rumors are pointing at that Borderlands is going to be there to announce something. I don't know if you saw this or not, but we're recording this on a Sunday. So in probably our next episode, we'll end up talking about this more. But tomorrow, PlayStation has some kind of announcement that they're doing. Did you see that?
I have not, but I've heard rumors a while ago that PlayStation was going to make an announcement in the March-April timeframe, and Final Fantasy VII Remake was going to be part of that. I cannot confirm nor deny that. However, if it is, fully prepare for me to call you.
I anticipate that. That's fine. So I'm gonna be watching that stream tomorrow. It's supposed to be like a Nintendo Direct style video package that they're putting out tomorrow.
Right.
So I'm really interested to see what's gonna come of that. And then we have Borderlands 3, which I played Borderlands 1 a lot, and then me, Daniel, and a few of our buddies, and we just put hundreds of hours into Borderlands 2.
Yeah.
Borderlands 2.
I have put the same amount of hours into Borderlands 1, believe it or not.
Yeah. And actually, we were talking about at one point in time, because we both have Borderlands on our computers, about getting back into playing Borderlands 2 again in preparation for Borderlands 3.
I think it's a great idea. I think we could definitely stream some content, have a little fun, throw some Tiny Tina up there. I love Tiny Tina.
Yeah, and I keep hearing the rumors that she might be a playable character.
Oof.
So,
Dibs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's much other than that I can think of off the top of my head that I'm really excited for. Anything else that you got?
trying to think. I mean, not that I can think of. Nothing that really stands out. You know, I was kind of looking at Rage 2 a little bit. However,
I'm
the single player, not multi, like that game to me screams Borderlands, and you need a companion. Like, so it's kind of hard not to want to, you know, play with somebody. So that being a single player game makes it a little difficult.
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of where I'm sitting right now. There isn't a whole lot other than the fact that the Final Fantasy VII port to the Switch should be out like now.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to go upstairs and download it once this is over.
Okay.
So I can play
Fair
that
enough.
again.
Fair enough. All right. So I think with that, I think we should get to what is going to be our primary topic of the show, which is, I want to say it's primarily GDC, but it's primarily Google Stadia.
Yeah.
So before we fully get into Stadia, I do want to bring up one little side note because I want to get your opinion on this, and it'll help us kind of segue into talking about Stadia because we can leverage off of it pretty well. But so because again, Xbox, the big news that they have is that there's rumored that they're going to be coming out with a discless Xbox One, so it will be a primarily digital only console. It's supposed to be at a lower price point, so it's a little bit of an easier price point of entry to get into having a AAA console.
Right. And I mean, I think that's great. From what I've been hearing as well, Xbox is kind of touching on the whole streaming and being able to seamlessly connect between different devices as well. That's just something I've kind of been hearing about. But I think the digital-only console is a good investment for Xbox, who's kind of been a back runner in this console war of this series. I think it's a good way to drag people in to the Xbox and the Microsoft and the mainly get people into their Game Pass, because I will say that out of both consoles, you know, the PS4 may have taken the lead and taken this entire console war as far as like being the better system. However, their Xbox's Game Pass it's phenomenal. I mean, you're talking like $10 a month, and they're talking about, you know, AAA games and first-party titles.
Yeah,
and
first-party titles being day and date and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing. That's an awesome service, and for $10 a month, yeah, I mean you can't really beat it. So I think doing a digital platform is a smart move on their part.
Yeah, and the digital platform
pulls people in.
The digital platform, I mean, for me, I've primarily gone exclusively digital.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, I honestly don't know the last time I actually bought a disc. At this point, it's been a couple of years, but the thing is, regardless of whether or not you buy the disc or you buy it digitally, you have still content that you have to download. I'm sitting here leaning against my desk and shaking my camera. So there's downloads regardless of either way. So I mean, like, to me, this isn't a negative step. It's not necessarily a positive step. It's somewhat positive in the sense of, like, you know, for the people that want the digital only, it's an easier price point for them to get in and go that route. So
honestly, I mean, for me, it's a selling point if it wasn't for the fact that Microsoft, you know, the Xbox Game Pass can be played on your computer. Yeah. Like, if I couldn't access those games on my computer, I would actually consider this, just because it's a cheap way to get into an Xbox and just kind of play some of their exclusives.
Yeah, well, and that's the problem with Xbox, though, and this is one of the reasons why I feel like they've fallen behind on the race, is that their exclusive titles this generation haven't.
No, they don't have any.
It's not that they don't have any. It's they don't have a wide selection. Their best exclusive is Forza, and if you're not a racing guy, like, you look at their titles and you're like, well, like, they have State of Decay, which kind of came and went. It didn't light the world on fire. Crackdown. Crackdown. Come on, really?
Come on, man. It's Crackdown. I mean, don't get me wrong; those games are fun.
But this one didn't. This one failed in almost every conceivable way, from what I heard. I mean, I didn't get a chance to play it, so, you know, take my word with a grain of salt. But at the same time, like everything I heard, and it just didn't do anything that really helped even its own series. So there's
Right.
it's an unfortunate thing, and I mean, granted, in the future, they've got an active Gears of War being developed. They have an active Halo being developed. There's things that they're like. I think at this point of the stage for Xbox, what they've been doing is they've been setting themselves up for the future, and
Oh yeah,
it's all going to pay off within the next couple years. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think they fully have set themselves up for the next console war.
Yeah.
In my mind, like the fact that they've gone out and they've acquired all these different developers or companies and so on, and they're working on first party exclusives, and they're working on building their customer base, and they're trying to do the right things, and they're working with Nintendo to cross play, cross progress, and everything like that. That is building their customer reputation, and they're setting themselves up for the future.
Yeah, and there's rumors about their Project X Cloud for the streaming,
yep,
and everything like that. So, with that being said, so Google Stadia, for those of you who don't know, GDC this year, Google made their appearance at GDC, and they announced Google Stadia. So this is their entryway into the gaming space. They did a beta test back in October of streaming
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Yeah.
They released it day and date on their streaming service to beta test this entire process. So there is no box, there is no console. You are streaming your games from their data centers. And they're saying
4K.
That they're saying right now it's before it releases, they're streaming 1080p at 60 frames. At release, it's going to be 4K at 60 frames, and in the future, they're promising 8K at 120 frames. Now,
which is nuts.
It's insane. But now here's the big kicker. Because you're streaming, I listened to an interview after the press conference. To get 4K at 60, you have to have a minimum or a recommended of about 30 megabits per second.
Right.
So people that are in major cities, things like that, and better areas that have a better infrastructure, no problems. You should be good.
Yep.
But it's gonna be interesting to see, people that are in rural areas, rural Kentucky, rural Kansas, and the Midwest, in those types of areas.
15 minutes down the road from me.
Or 15 minutes down the street from Daniel in New York. One of his buddies gets 2 or 3 megs a second. Anytime there's a major update or a major game that he's got to download, we got to wait a week for him to be able to play it.
Or he brings it over to my house.
Yeah, but
he really does.
Yeah, and so once he has it downloaded, he can play it. But the streaming service, there's a lot that they talked about at the conference, and I personally am really excited about it because I'm kind of one of those people that, sometimes I can't get the brand new console when it comes out. So when the PS5 or the next Xbox comes out, this thing is still going to be able to compete. And if there's depending on the price, who knows what things are going to cost, but, I won't have to buy a new console. And I've been very excited to see what this really is going to entail, because if it's that I'm just buying games, there's a chance that I might not get the next PlayStation for that reason of not having that barrier of entry of having to buy a console.
See, and I agree. It's great that you won't need to buy a console and you can just stream these games and so on. But for me, it's still PlayStation and Xbox hold exclusives. They hold first-party titles. They hold things that Google will not have access to. And they're going to have those kind of that upper hand over Google. And
I mean, all right, here's the thing. So Google they announced at GDC. I don't know if you went back and finished watching, but they have a first party studio. That's heading Jade Raymond, I believe is her name. Is the lead.
Jade.
Yeah. So they're gonna have exclusive titles. Now the granted thing is that you're not gonna have PlayStation exclusives. You're not gonna have Xbox exclusives, but they're gonna have
exclusives that she's building.
Yeah, and I mean,
and those are gonna be 3 years out.
Right, and I mean, there's going to be enough third-party stuff that I'll have in between. Like, the games that I would miss out on, depending on if it's this gen or next gen, is depending on if Last of Us is on PS4 or if it's on PS5. I think it's going to be on PS4, which I'll get to play. Um, Death Stranding, I have zero interest in, and I don't think it's this gen.
I don't think anybody knows what that game even is.
Regardless of what that game is, even if we get to the point where we do know what that game is, I'm not a Kojima fan. Like, I'm not a Metal Gear Solid fan. Like, I've never. That's not my style of game. So
Right.
I'm not missing out on that from my perspective. But I'm optimistic because I'm getting more into the YouTube space, and the integration that they're doing with Stadia and having they have a feature called crowd play. So if you're streaming and you're using Stadia, there's going to be a link on the YouTube page saying join crowd play. As long as you have it enabled, people can join in queue and play multiplayer games with their favorite streamers. Like, I think that's a very
Right.
awesome thing to have.
And I think that's great as long as you. My main question is what is going to be the setup for Stadia? Are we talking a subscription based, or are you talking you pay $60 and you have access to that game plus a subscription to Google Stadia for access to their networks, or are what do you have to do to get into this? Because and like I've heard on various other interviews and things, like games like Call of Duty, you're not going to they're not going to get rid of their $60 charge price
fine.
for a subscription.
But here's my thing.
I mean,
so if Google does a yearly subscription like PlayStation does and Xbox does, that's
right.
around the same price, I would, for me, if I'm going to stay with Stadia alone, I would get rid of my PlayStation Plus. I would subscribe to theirs, pay the yearly $60 if it's $60. Hopefully, cross my fingers. Hopefully it's not more. And then if you got to buy the games from there, like, that's no different from having a console, but now you're not buying the console.
Right.
So
no, I fully get that. It's just
oh no, there's tons of questions. There's a ton of questions.
And there's a lot of I don't want to say skepticism on my end, but there's some I'm very hesitant. Well, I'm very hesitant to buy into this. I mean, shut your mouth. I'm all for it. I love the technology. I think the access is amazing. I think the seamless streaming and the fact that you can just jump from platform to platform is awesome. I think the fact that they release this when you don't have internet connections across the nation that can support it is rather dumb.
See, here's the thing. I heard this point made somewhere else, and I'm not taking credit for this viewpoint, but here's my point, or here's the point. At right now where we're in, internet connections are at the worst that they're going to be currently, because at every stage of the way, internet connections are just going to keep getting better and better and better. And so right now, even if they release this and they have 5 million people, major cities, other smaller cities that have the infrastructure over the seas in Europe and the UK and things like that, they have, but at that point in time, you're only going to grow from that point.
Right.
Because internet speeds are just going to get better and better.
But my feeling on this is, and I've said this a couple times, and I could be completely wrong. Don't it wouldn't be the first time. I feel like Google Stadia, and this could, God, I can bite myself on this, but I feel like Google Stadia is going to be a PUBG. So I feel like Google Stadia is coming out. They're releasing this hot new thing. PUBG was the intro to the Battle Royale. Okay, it was amazing. It was set up. And then I feel like PlayStation's going to be your Fortnite. And then I feel like Xbox is going to come in and swoop in and be your Apex Legends.
See,
and you're going to have these two companies that are going to build off of this and make something better than what Google is capable of doing.
Okay, so I'll attack the analogy first, and then I'm going to attack the other, the last end of that. So The analogy, I would think, because of the fact that Xbox is already talking about xCloud and PlayStation, as far as we know, is still just talking about um,
PS5.
PS5, and they do have PlayStation Now, and there's room for them to grow with that. But they've
I
been doing
think
that wrong for a long time.
PlayStation's holding on to something.
Yeah,
I think we just haven't heard it yet.
but my way of attacking the analogy is, if anything, I would think Google would be considered your PUBG, Xbox would be your Fortnite, and then PlayStation would swoop in last as the Apex.
Okay.
Just out of order of operations.
Because PlayStation would be the smarter to actually implement that ping system and everything.
Right. That's my intention on that. But the other thing
I can't wait to see that appear in games.
So my big thing is, if any company has the best and most upbuilt already infrastructure to do it right and do it best, it's going to be Google.
Correct.
They
starting out.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think the other thing is, especially from our viewpoint, as the fact that we are in America, like this is an American-based company, like they already have their infrastructure within America to make this work and benefit us the most, obviously. And like they have their infrastructure in the other countries, and they're going to build it up, but like Sony doesn't have that type of infrastructure built up.
Right, and I will say, I think out of everybody, like, Google has the most funds to throw at this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they definitely have the best chance to make something go of it. I just don't see this is a console killer that I keep hearing. Like, I keep hearing that Google Stadia is going to kill the consoles and it's going to shut them down, and Microsoft and PlayStation aren't going to be able to survive. I just don't see that happening.
I see, if anything gets hurt by Stadia the most, I don't think it's going to be the consoles necessarily. I think it would be more Twitch than the consoles.
Because, I can see that.
Because this thing is going to be so embedded and so integrated with YouTube that I think people will still probably be able to use it on Twitch, but it's going to work better on YouTube. It's going to work, and everything like that. And
yeah,
I think
people are going to be able to carry that streaming over to YouTube a lot easier.
Yeah.
And I could definitely see that. I could also see it kind of hurting if it's as successful as you think it's going to be, and so on, and it actually kicks off and this thing goes and it starts pulling some major ground. It could start hurting some of the developers, some of the people that aren't willing to, they are PlayStation exclusives, or they are only tied to so on and so forth. Maybe they're not, they're not willing to transfer to Google and allow them to have rights for their streaming and so on, and that could end up hurting them in the long run. But
yeah, I don't know, man. From the press conference and the way that they talked about, how much they're willing to, because like that's the other thing about the first party studio is like, not only are they going to be developing their own games, they're also, one of the other visions of that studio is to help other smaller studios, bring their stuff to Stadia. And I think
right.
I think the message right now, from my perspective, is they're saying everything right. Everything that they have said, they've said it right. And I think that means good things for the industry. And also the other thing is like, so, for the longest time we've had the three major players: Nintendo, Xbox, and Microsoft. But for the most part, it's been a two console war, because Nintendo does their own thing.
Nintendo's in their own world.
Yeah, they do their own thing. They do it their way and everything like that. So
it's
been primarily. So for me, this isn't a negative thing at all, in my opinion. Like Google entering the space, it adds more interest and more eyes to the market, and I think it's only going to help the market grow.
I don't see it as a negative thing at all. I'm just hesitant to fully buy into it until I can see more. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, the good news is it's March. They have their own event that I heard is in May, and then we also, E3 has a gigantic opening of Sony not being at E3, so there's a chance that they could be at E3 as well. So
Right.
we're not too far away from hearing more. It's coming
Yeah.
out this year.
Yeah. I will say the last thing that I fully bought into blindly, and probably why I'm so hesitant on this, was Anthem. So like, I'm very hesitant to jump into anything as far as like, let me see more first.
Yeah,
Before
no,
we...
and I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
So I'm
go ahead.
Don't get me wrong. When I watched the GDC stream and I was watching them jump from a laptop to a cell phone to a desktop to a TV to and they were just showing all this like gorgeous gameplay that they were pulling straight from the networks. I was like, I think I was texting you at the time. I'm like,
yeah,
are you seeing this? Like, this is amazing.
Yeah,
I'm really excited for it, but I just hope it's everything that we want it to be. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, one of the other reasons why I'm excited is like around Christmas, I set up my home with Chromecasts, and because not for this, but just I got smart bulbs, I have Google Homes, I have Chromecast, everything's controlled through all my Google devices, so it's like, oh man, like I'm kind of already set. If I want to play on my TV, all I got to do is just buy the controller, and I could, essentially just start playing these games when they come out, and if I pay whatever, like, so I'm excited about that, because I already have majority of the stuff I need to get it going.
Right. No, I get that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So
I just hopefully it meets all of our expectations.
Yeah. I'm not the last thing I wanted to talk about. I'm not going to go too far into it because I wanted to have a list in front of me of the games that came out, but there's two games primarily that I wanted to talk about that got kind of announced, sort of announced at GDC as well, and it was the Nintendo Indies presentation that they did. So, what is your take on Cuphead coming to Switch? Primarily a Xbox exclusive, now coming over to Nintendo.
So I think that just kind of ties into what I was saying earlier, where Xbox is making the right moves and working with Nintendo. Cuphead, I found to be a challenging game, but a lot of fun. I did not beat it. I played some of it on my computer. I thought it was a lot of fun though. I really enjoyed it, and it's one of those games that I could definitely put on my Switch and play when I'm out of town at the hotels or on a flight or whatever the case is. I'm looking forward to that a lot, and I think it's a smart move for Xbox and Nintendo to work together.
Right.
Personally.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree. I'm looking forward. Like, to me, I take away from this more. Sorry, I bumped something and something beeped. So
I think that was on my end.
Okay. It just kind of coincided at the same time. Anyway, so
yeah.
my takeaway is, okay, this is the first step of Xbox showing this friendly partnership.
Right.
I want to know what's coming more down the line. Like, Cuphead's all well and good. Like, I have it on my PC. I put 2 seconds into that game. Literally, I think I loaded it up and I was like, oh shit, I need a controller, and I kind of left it at that, and I closed it down. I have not had a chance to play it, but the story for me is what else is Xbox doing with this partnership and this friendship? So,
right. No, I'm very very interested to see where it goes between the Xbox and Nintendo, and how much I don't want to sound negative towards PlayStation, but like, how much does it affect them? How much does it hurt them? That they're not willing to play ball, essentially. And
I think Xbox is way more willing to play ball than PlayStation is at this point.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
So it's gonna be an interesting partnership. The other game I wanted to bring up, and I'm gonna have to look up the exact title because I don't remember. It's a weird title. It's extremely long. So give me 1 second. You can go ahead and talk about whatever you want while I look this up.
Do you want me to like break out in song? I mean,
I don't know. Just whatever. So
No, but go ahead. You find
okay,
it?
all right. So Cadence of Hyrule, Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Right. And that's a
So it is it's an exclusive to Nintendo. It's a sequel to Crypt of the Necrodancer that is featuring Nintendo characters. So it's another
right.
non-Nintendo game that is being released with Nintendo characters. It's a pseudo rhythm game where the music's playing and you move and you hop. It's a strategy RPG where you move with the beat.
Okay.
You get bonuses for moving with the beat, and you attack with the beat and get bonus damage. And
There's a lot of beats in there.
yeah, it's an interesting game to say the least.
I've heard several people who are actually very excited for this. I think it has its market. I think it has its fan base. I know nothing about it.
Okay, so let me pose the question off of this then. What do you have any kind of take on non-Nintendo games having Nintendo characters? Do you think this opens up any other doors for any other um, Nintendo characters to possibly get used in
I
this
mean,
kind of light?
we talking about Mario and Mortal Kombat, or no? I think it's a great question. I think we could definitely. The more that Xbox and Nintendo work together, the more that you see like Nintendo characters ending up in non-Nintendo games and vice versa, and different characters ending up in collaborating with other games. It's going to be interesting the way they tie together, and I think it's going to open the door for a lot of things. I think it's going to change some of the games that we know and love for the better, honestly.
Yeah.
Like Mario and Mortal Kombat. But
they tried doing a cross thing before with Mortal Kombat DC characters. It didn't go very well.
yeah. But I mean, it's. I feel like it would be awesome to see some of these characters come over, or even just some of these games cross over.
Sure.
And having access to play some of the Xbox games and everything on the Switch would be amazing.
Yeah. So, I'm kind of right there with you. It's interesting to see characters that Nintendo is usually so tightly held onto, being allowed to be used in this way, and I really do hope that it opens doors for the potential of other characters being used in different ways. I mean, I loved Mario Rabbids. That game was phenomenal.
Yeah, I know you played it, and I looked at picking it up, and then I never did, and I kind of regret that.
Yeah,
because I feel like that was a game I would really enjoy as well.
It was a lot of fun. The difficulty ramps. It starts, and it's just kind of like almost, and then it's like this. It gets hard really, really quickly. You're having fun, you're doing your thing, and then all of a sudden you're getting your head caved in.
Yeah, they don't just like take the training wheels off. They just like throw you down the hill at that point.
No, they basically, you go from having 4 wheels, the 2 training wheels, onto riding a unicycle.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
It's doable. It's just really hard.
Yeah, it was something I was looking at. There's a couple.
Yeah, no, it was.
I was kind of glancing at, but that was one of them.
It's a lot of fun. It was, if you ever see it on sale for a really good price, which is rare for Nintendo games to go on sale.
Right.
But they do every once in a while. They'll have a Nintendo sale. If you see it for a good price, it's something to consider. It's especially for somebody who likes strategy RPGs and things like that.
Yeah, like Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah. It's more like an XCOM, but
Yeah, it's all right.
So with that being said, I got nothing else that I can think of that would kind of to take away from any of this.
I think we covered a good amount, especially with the Google Stadia and everything. I think it was a good amount of information.
Yeah,
covering what happened over the weekend.
So our future plans, like I said at the beginning, we don't have a name for our podcast yet. As the channel grows, both of our channels grow, we will be coming up with different ideas for names for the podcast, and we would potentially like to pull those out and get some votes and get some ideas. Even if anybody has ideas for what they want to see this podcast get named, we're open to that.
Yep.
Have a voting system and see what we can come up with. But outside of that, I think we're gonna wrap this episode, and we will definitely be putting out more content. Daniel, you got anything to add before we say bye?
No, not really. Other than I'm looking forward to building up my computer so I can start pulling some streams off of it.
I'm really looking forward to seeing you build your computer too.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll take some video of me actually putting it together. Throw those up too.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So, all right. With that being said, then, thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you guys enjoyed the content. Subscribe, comment, like, and we will see you guys next time.
Yep, sounds good.